This is my 1989 Buick Reatta. I've had it for about 6 or 7 months now, and I wanted to go over everything that I've done to it to keep it on the road. But first, let's go over what a Reatta actually is. Back in 1988, Buick decided to take a Riviera and kind of cut it down, make it a two-seater, leaving some of the advanced tech they put in the 86 model of the Riviera. It's a front-wheel drive Buick 3800 V6. It makes about 165 horsepower with 210 pound-feet of torque. Now, the styling of the Buick Reatta is especially different. Most Buicks at the time were somewhat boxy, but the Reatta has these weird curves. But specifically noticeable is the pop-up headlights that Buick decided to put on this car. This is the only Buick they ever offered with pop-ups. Moving on to the interior, this is where it really gets interesting. Basically, the whole interior is shared with the Riviera from 1986. You have the digital gauges that are shared. It also shares the CRT touchscreen that it had. 4-speed automatic transmission. In the center console, you have your window controls and your mirror controls. And then with the 16-way seat options, you actually have a combination of control locations. For thigh recline and lumbar position, it's on the side of the seat, and the rest of the controls are sitting here on the door. For light options, you have your pop-up headlights, parking lights, lights off. You also have brights, which can be activated by pushing that. You also have panel light settings, cruise control, and hazard lights. On the right side, you have high wiper, low wiper, wiper off. You also have fog lamp and lamp retract. So if you want to keep your pop-ups open without having them on, you can push lamp retract. Trunk and fuel door open buttons can be found in the glove box. You have an anti-lock brake system in your gas pedal. By the driver's left foot, you have a parking brake release, and your hood release. Buick also included an ashtray because, of course, and because this car was made in '89, you have cassette player storage. Moving to where the back seats would be in a Riviera, you don't actually have any. You have 2 storage cubbies and access to your trunk. I would show you the trunk, but I have a bunch of parts and stuff in there, but it is very spacious for the car. Now on startup, probably the first thing you'll notice is the digital dash and the touchscreen. My Reatta in particular has almost 130,000 miles, which is very clearly seen on the left side of the dash. Moving on to the most striking feature of the Buick Reatta, it's the CRT touchscreen. Through the touchscreen, you have climate controls, an overall summary of all stats. The summary includes the date, miles per gallon, or if you're on cruise control, it shows your current cruise speed, radio controls, volume, and climate control settings. In the dedicated radio tab, you have your power, volume, seek, and your eject for the cassette player. In the gauges section, it shows your RPM, oil pressure, battery voltage, and overall temperature. Moving on to the options tab, you have your trip computer, trip monitor, and reminders. You can set alarms there. In the trip monitor, you can adjust your range, and you can reset your fuel consumption, miles per gallon, and average speed. Last but not least, in the status, you can set your clock, set brightness, system tone, and do some basic diagnostics. Although if you're really wanting to do diagnostic reading, go to climate and hold off and warm. This will open your secret OBD1 code reader, which I currently have no codes for, although I do have some history codes. Here you can read your specific engine sensors, including your gears. This is actually incredibly helpful when you're trying to diagnose some specific sensor failures. If it's not reading on here, it's probably not working. So that's a basic overview of the Buick Reatta. Now I want to go over everything I've done. So as a little bit of backstory, I picked this up from a guy who was selling it for his dad, who was about 82 or so. And he was done with driving. He said, "I'm too old to drive." I actually picked up this Reatta for about $2,000. However, it was having some electrical issues at the time, which I had to address. The electrical problem was you'd be driving on the road perfectly fine, and then the engine would cut out, you would lose brake assist, and your power steering would completely shut down. Car would completely shut off, and the screen would give the warning, engine communication problems. I'll show a clip here. So over the course of about a month or two, we were going through diagnostics. We replaced a bunch of sensors. The first thing I replaced was the idle air control valve, which didn't end up fixing the problem. Then we replaced the crankshaft position sensor, which didn't end up working either, although that was something that I wanted to replace just as future-proofing. Later, we replaced a couple other sensors. I replaced an oxygen sensor because that was original to the car and absolutely ancient. This car is 36. Couple other sensors here and there. We replaced the camshaft position sensor that was throwing the code. But what ended up actually fixing the problem, it ended up being the engine control module, the ECM. Now on Rock Auto, it's about $650 for a brand new one. However, because of the very friendly Reatta community, I managed to get one from a parts Reatta for 55 bucks. Threw that in, works perfectly. After I replaced that, I wanted to open the hood so I could show you what I'm talking about. I ended up replacing the coil pack with a later model. Originally, these came with a Magnavox coil pack, which is just one individual pack that holds all 6 coils. Unfortunately, with that design, if one coil goes bad, the entire unit has to be replaced. So I found this in a junkyard, pulled it off of another car. I found an adapter plate for it so it could fit on an earlier model of engine, which I have. Plugged this in, it's plug and play, works just fine, and it's been running smooth ever since. And if one of these goes bad, I can just replace an individual one of these instead of having to replace the entire unit like I would have in the past. So I got that replaced and the engine was running fine for a little bit, and then I started to notice a little bit of a coolant leak, which was confusing. It ended up that the water pump had completely died. So I had to get that replaced as well. You can see the brand new water pump down there. Also, along the process, I had to rebuild these headlight motors multiple times, probably about 7 in the first couple of months that I owned the car. That's just because these pop-up motors have bushings on the inside that take the brunt force of the motor turning and stopping. However, after 36 years, these bushings have turned to dust, and you have to replace them or else the pop-ups won't work. Luckily, you can find the bushings online for like 15 bucks on Amazon, or if you want a complete rebuild kit, it's like 50 bucks for the arm, the bushings, the gears, everything. And it's really, really nice. Fun fact, these are the same pop-up motors that the C4 Corvette and the Pontiac Fiero use. Love GM and their cross-compatible parts. So after replacing the ECM, after replacing the water pump, after replacing the coil pack, it started running perfectly and I had no problems. Obviously here and there I did have to do a little bit of work. These are brand new tires. The original ones are from 2007. And back in the interior here, these pull strap caps are actually non-existent. You can't buy them anymore. So these pull strap caps are completely custom, 3D printed and designed by me. You can actually find them for sale on eastcoastreattaparts.com. And yeah, I did make those. Moving on to my glove box, you can see that the pull handle is a slightly different color. That's because that is actually a common failure point because of the weak brittle plastic that GM uses. So that is also a 3D printed replacement designed and printed by me. Although that one is not available on East Coast Reatta. I'm planning on getting it listed. I also have a front and rear dash cam installed, just in case. I also had this custom Buick Reatta Lego City Scale set designed, and the chrome bricks are actually chromed. This was very expensive. This was like 150 bucks, I think. Worth it? Probably not, but I sit it on my dash and it looks good at car shows. I forgot to mention that I also have the original emergency keys for this car. You can see Reatta Buick, emergency keys, ignition, and door keys. This is very cool. I never plan on using these, but it's really nice that I have them sitting around just in case. I also have the original owner's manual with all the oil changes marked down. I have the original bill of sale and a bunch of other information pertaining to the car that I don't quite want to show on film, but just know that I have it. I also have both of the original keys and key fobs. Unfortunately, the key fobs no longer work just because of their age. Yeah, and I have pretty much every piece of information that I could have ever wanted on this car. It's very fun. Currently, things I want to get fixed. The cassette player does not work. The belt on the inside is broken. This is very, very common for these. Being as old as they are, they always break. And most of these people will replace them with like a Bluetooth unit or just take them out, swap in a new aftermarket radio or something of the sort. I want to keep it original and I want to keep it working, so that's a project for the future. The original owners swapped out the original wheels with some commercial tire 16-inch wheels instead of the original 15s. I do plan on getting an original set eventually, but for now, I just bought new tires. I do not care how they look as long as they drive. Also, if you notice here, I do have some leather damage. The leather's just become brittle and cracked over years and years, probably of water dripping. This is something I do want to get addressed, but I'm not really sure how to fix because this is all one piece of leather. I would have to probably replace this entire door card to get that fixed. And I don't even really know where to source one of those. So this is not high on my priority fix list, but it is on there because this is the only interior damage that I have. Well, right now my most pressing issue is brake pads, rotors, and if you couldn't tell by the puddle, are in my rear brake. I am, in fact, leaking brake fluid from this caliper, so I definitely need new calipers. I'm going to do all of that at once, so brakes, calipers, and rotors all in one fell swoop, just so I don't have to deal with it anymore. But this is my most pressing issue. I'm waiting on a paycheck and my tax returns to get this taken care of because I know it's going to be a little pricey. But that's really the only major problem that I have with the Reatta right now. And I do want to replace this antenna. They did come with power antennas, but mine does not have it. I might replace it with a shorter stub or maybe see if I can swap in a power antenna. But apart from that, yeah, it's really just a perfect vehicle. I love it so much. So yeah, that's my 1989 Buick Reatta. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have questions and I'll try and clarify in the comments. I'm a big fan of these cars. Yeah, anyway, peace.